So obviously, I think most of you know me, I'm Joan Wagner, and from our board, we have Nate Covert, Donna Mooney, who's the registrar for the junior division. Peter Robinson is our webmaster. Fran Lonis is the registrar for the senior division. And those are the only people present on our board right now. The other ones we don't need right now are judges and so forth. Oh, and I forgot.
Yeah, Jean is down there.
Jean is here too, who's involved with publicity for the science fair, and also
Okay. I play no role at all, so it doesn't matter.
Editor, she does a lot of stuff in the background.
A lot of
That's
stuff.
important. Okay, so so this year, ISEF is going to be, the international is going to be a virtual science fair, because it's almost, as you could all believe, impossible to bring 80 countries and territories together in one place. The vaccine might be available by June for some of us, but probably none of us standing around here right now are going to get it. Well, me, I'm part of the older grade. I might get it, but we'll see. Anyway, so we're going to go virtually. And because of that, like last year, due to the amazing work of Peter, and I'm going to pretty much say Peter, Dan, and Matt, our coordinating judges, we managed to throw together a virtual last minute. This time we have some planning, and taking pictures of posters is not the easiest thing for judges to see. So what ISEF decided is to create this PDF, which I sent you all a copy of our version. I sent you first the ISEF version, but I kind of modified it for ours. And I think ISEF is going to send examples, but I haven't received any examples yet. So right now, just do the best you can on it. There's going to be one for mathematics, but they haven't set up how to do the mathematics yet. Usually we don't have that many math ones, but that will be available. When it's available, I'll share it with you. So no hard copies. You're not going to send anything in hard. Everything is going to be uploaded this year, and Peter's going to explain that shortly. And we're actually going, that's what happens for ISEF. That's going to be now from now on. We're not going to take anything hard copy. The only hard copy is I created a payment form because we haven't set up a web payment yet. We're going to talk about how we want to do that, but we'll wait till next year. So right now, payment, you'll see a little payment form you could download from the website, and you send in your checks like you've done before to either Fran or to Donna, depending whether it's a junior or senior division. So that's a new form that we'll use this year. So no hard copies. All teachers, when you sign in, all teachers and students will receive t-shirts, so put in your size when you register yourself. Teachers must register first before your students can register. In other words, they won't even know it. And there's going to be a little drop-down screen for what school. We're going to use all the schools we've used before, and then there's a place, if there's a new school, you could always add a new one to our database. So it'll be a drop-down screen, and then you could add to it as needed. The registration fee will remain the same at $35, which is pretty nominal for a science fair. They did not change the one at the International.
Roger home. Roger home.
Can't talk in the middle of the meeting. Sorry.
Kisses and hugs, Roger.
I know, and now I just lost everybody. Let me get you back on here. Okay, kind of screwed up the whole meeting on me. Just following my stuff here.
You're so warm and fuzzy, Joan.
Oh, thank you so much. So so Roger really liked it. Sorry, I can't. He did the same thing to me. He was at a meeting when I called. So students, then once the teacher registers, the teacher sponsor, then the students can register. And registration will open up January 1st and end January 25th midnight. So you have a fairly large window for students to register the materials. And of course, you could always call if you run into any issues. And since it relates to the web, best to email our webmaster, Peter, not me, because I won't be able to solve it for you. Just watching to make sure I'm not, if anybody's trying to get in. The only difference now for the junior division, which is what we used to have, the junior division forms are going to follow the senior division. In other words, we used to have a special vertebrate form and human subject form, and our SRC chair felt it was too complicated. We have like a real IRB chair person on our committee that oversees all of the paperwork. So just follow the same rules. You'll see in the brochure, we actually will be uploading a new copy of the brochure. Make sure all of your students have copies of that brochure. It's really important they read it carefully. And due to the wonderful work of Fran, she really shortened a lot of things, so I think it's a little bit more understandable. A few things will change back with the virtual stuff in there. Obviously, we hopefully will not have it for 2022. And so the Form B that we have, our regional Form B, which is the SRC IRB approval form, is required for certain projects require that type of approval. So not everybody has to send it in. Most engineering projects, unless it's dealing with a lot of dangerous chemicals or dangerous equipment, will not need it. But some projects, and even if you do interviews, surveys with human beings, surveys with people, that's going to require an SRC IRB form. So I think a lot of data mining that will be used on people might require IRB approval. So bear that in mind. So it's always best to send it in just in case than to have to be notified. Better safe than sorry. It's not a difficult form to figure out. Okay, so everybody is going to be uploading forms, and Peter, you have a copy. Do you want to talk about how the uploading is going to be taking place for the required forms to participate? Yeah. First for registration and then for actually participation.
Yes.
Yeah, Peter, I would suggest just go through, bring us the site, I think, and then just with the teachers, what we're going to see.
Yep. Joan, would you allow me screen sharing rights?
Okay.
No screen sharing for you.
I gave it to actually everybody, but Peter's the only one's going to do it right now.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to take you through the same PowerPoint that I took the board members that were part of the meeting last week. And I'll try and keep this as short and sweet as possible. And for the teachers that are here today and for any teachers who might be watching the recording, the goal that I have is to help you understand what the registration process looks like and give you just a little bit of an understanding as to why the decisions have been made that were made for this registration process. So the first thing, as Joan said previously, is that we really ask that all teachers register beforehand. This gives us an idea as to where we can expect students to be coming from. And that way we have an idea. I'll use Nate as an example. You know, if Nate is registered, but we don't see any students coming in from Nate, that alerts me as the webmaster and Donna and Fran as the registrars. That gives us all an idea that, hey, wait a minute, there's something going on with Shaker's registrants. We kind of, it puts those schools on our radar. So we ask that all teachers use the registration page that is currently on our website to just register. When you register, it's going to create an account on our website. And it should be a one-time thing. Hopefully we won't have to do this year after year. You'll just be in there. And then we go in on the backside of the website, we pull out all of those names of all of the schools and the addresses, and we use that for sort of clerical purposes. So as I said, the window for registration is currently open. It doesn't close, it's always open. So if you would do that before you send your students to register, that's a big help, because then we can add some more customization to the student registration. Like Joan says, your school name will appear in the drop down so that, you know, it kind of cleans up all of the, and creates consistency across the board for all students within a particular school district. So now I'm going to talk about the registration process for students. And again, teachers register before the students, and then the student registration itself is a three-part process. The first part is that students are going to create logins on our website. So that is basically like you've ever created you go to Google, you create a Google account, you create an account on our website. And that's going to be important, and I'll explain that in just a second. The second part is the student registration. And that's what we did last year online, was the registration process. It will be broken up into 5 parts. And that registration, as Joan said, begins January 1st and closes January 25th at midnight. Okay, and that is where students will enter all of the details, their own personal information, details about their school, their teachers of record, their project, their project title, category, all of that kind of information will go in there, as well as signing the photo release, the media release documents, all of that kind of stuff is going to be taken care of in that second part of the registration. And then sometime after January 25th, after our SRC meets and reviews all of the projects, goes through all of the, the information that's provided, students will be uploading the media. And Joan alluded to the fact that, the nature of the project and what students are presenting is going to change a little bit. There will be a window of opportunity from March 5th through March 12th at noon, where students will be able to upload their media for judges to review on the day of or even before potentially the fair, so that judges can really make the best use of the time when they are interviewing the students. So the student login creation, again, is the first of the three parts. Basically, they visit our website. They will visit our website. This is not yet fully active. They'll create the account as is shown sort of on this slide here. First name, last name, school, email address. I understand that some students may not be able to receive or send email from outside of the organization. So that one will be changing to reflect just email address. Students will know which email address they're able to use. But we ask that they use that email address consistently throughout all of the registration steps, because that will be their login to get into the website. Then we also ask for the school district, the sponsoring teacher's first and last name, and we will also at that time get the sponsoring teacher's email address. So this is not quite a full snapshot of everything that's required in that very first step, but it's a 30-second registration on the website for any students. Yes.
Just interested. Somebody asked if we could send copies of the slides to the teachers.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So after students create this account, they hit submit. They go to their email address, log into their email, check their email. They will get a confirmation email that they have to click on to verify and set their password for the website. Okay, just like any two-factor authentication of any account that you create online, the first step is filling out the information. The second step is going to your email and clicking the link to verify the email address. Okay, so that's a 30-second thing, and students can really start to do that. I would say within another week or so, we will have that ready to go. We will certainly communicate out that student logins can be created. The second step, and the much lengthier step, and where I expect the most headaches for myself as the webmaster, Donna and Fran as the registrars, and you as the teachers, as well as the students, comes in step 2, because this is where students have to put in all of the information about their projects, about their school, all of that kind of stuff goes in here. And let me go back one step here and just explain why we are having students create the login for our website. It's because when we get into this 5-step registration process, section 6, there will be no web payment for 2021. So it's now a 5-part registration process in the actual registration form. I expect that students will have to come back to this registration a few times before they have all of their information, their documents that they need to submit for the registration. If they don't create a login on the website first, they would have to do the entire registration in one sitting. By creating a login on the website, it will allow them to keep coming back to it and saving it as a draft up until they have all of the necessary documentation. Okay, so that first step of creating the website login is really important if they don't want to be pulling their hair out, feeling that they need to complete the registration in one step. In fact, I think I've got the website set right now so that you can't even fill out the registration until you've created the login on the website. But I have to test that to make sure that that is in fact true. But the registration form is broken up into 5 sections, as I said. The first information is student information, same basic information we always ask for. The second section is school and teacher information. The third section is project information and details. Section 4, I've got in bold because that's where students are going to spend arguably the most time in filling out their registration. And then section 5 is giving consent and waivers and media release and acknowledging kind of the rules for the fair. So I'm going to take you real quickly into what this website looks like to give you a handle on what it looks like. So it says I don't have permission to view the form. If you can see that, that's because I'm not currently logged in. So I'm going to log in. And I'm going to feel really foolish when I don't remember my password. I knew that was going to happen because I'm in a different web browser. So let's bring it in here. I apologize for this. I knew this was going to happen.
I'm glad we hear sound.
All right, so now I should have my password saved. I can log in. I'm gonna hit remember me, so I don't have to deal with this in the future. And then here's what the registration actually looks like. So it's broken up. I set these sections so that they're collapsible, because if I had all of these expanded out, it would look like a 20-page document that you're trying to fill out. So you can expand them section by section. Student section, section 1, all the basic information about the individual and their parents, number of years they've been competing in the fair. We still plan on giving out t-shirts to all the participants again. So we're asking for that kind of basic information under section 1. Section 2 is all about the school district, school building, how many teachers are sponsoring you, and the teacher's information. And then section 3 is information about the project. So which category does it fall into? The project title. And then we ask the question of, is this a team project? And what I want to show you is that this form is dynamic in nature. So if you say, yes, this is a team project, you hit yes, and then additional questions pop up, okay? How many people are on your team? Teams by ISEF rules can be 2 or 3 individuals. So I'm going to say that there are 3 individuals, and when I do that, it asks me for a project team leader name. Now, this might cause some issues for some of the teachers or some of the students. They might get concerned about who is the project leader. Project leader is only for organizational purposes. The paperwork, we have to file it sort of under one name. So it doesn't matter who it is. We just ask that all registrants under a single team identify one team project leader. It really doesn't matter. In the program, we will list them under the order that is listed here. We ask for all team member names there, yourself included. So if I'm on a team of 3, I'm going to put my name as well as the 2 other names, and those are the names that are going to be used in the program. So then we get to section 4. In section 4, I have not yet had the opportunity to finish. Fran is helping me with this, and this is a bit of a monster to create because this is where students are going to upload each file individually for all of their forms. So you'll see that SRC IRB form, that local form B for the projects that require it, the research plan, which is required for all projects, student checklist. These are all familiar things. What Fran and I are still working on currently is we are going to model our form very closely after the rules wizard. So the rules wizard, you all know, you send your students through it, they answer a series of questions, you get to the end and it says you need to have these forms for this type of a project, right? We are working on reverse engineering those questions to identify what forms are required. So we expect to have a series of questions that is very similar to what the students do in the rules wizard up at the beginning of section 4. The responses to those questions in at the top of section 4 will lead the student to say they need to have this form, this form, this form, this form, as well as our local required forms. So it's going to be dynamic, and it will tell the students what they need to upload. And so there will be an individual spot for each document to be uploaded as a PDF file. Okay, so you'll see I've just gone through, I have the file upload sections here ready. So each one should be uploaded and needs to be uploaded individually.
Peter?
Okay, yes.
Will you have a spot with, like, let's say, for example, let's say like the potentially hazardous, if they need like the IBC form stating what their biocertificate level will be, will that be embedded there, or is that going to be an appendix at the end?
So the way I have it set is that if you have multiple documents to submit for an individual form, you can upload multiple documents to any of these. So if you have additional certifications, additional documentation, you can upload more than one document to each of these things. I will also include here at the bottom of section 4 the option of additional forms. Okay, so if you have something that we have forgotten, that we have missed, that you feel, even though Rules Wizard didn't specify, or maybe by the advisement of a teacher, they feel that you really should have additional documentation, we will have an other forms, and you can upload any additional supporting documentation there. Okay, is there a question in the chat here? Great question, Nate. All right, so moving down, I'm going to collapse section 4. So I guess before I collapse this, or while I'm collapsing this, I want to reiterate, this section, I think as teachers, I know we spend a lot of time getting the students' paperwork in order and helping them to do that. As early as you possibly can, start to emphasize to your students the importance of having all of their documentation ready. If you as a teacher decide to help organize that and manage that, and then on the day you register, or your students register, if you do it in class or whatever, you decide to give them all of their forms because you have them, that's fine. I'm not going to suggest any particular workflow for anybody. The only thing I will say is getting these things in order as early as possible will be helpful. Joan?
Peter, just so the payment one, I think, since we decided it's not going to be electronic this year, will be probably a PDF of the form to download and send in.
Yep. The last section here, section 5, waivers and parental consent. That's really just our media release and in a statement understanding the rules and policies that are in place for this fair. So that's what the second part of the registration process looks like, and that's the longest portion. Joan?
I'd like to say something else about that one. This year, if all of you had a chance to read over the PDF I sent about the presentation materials, it also includes a 2-minute video. That's totally new that the kids will be doing this year. And I made some suggestions for it. They actually have some suggestions too. And that's why particularly I highly recommend all teachers look at those videos. We don't want, proper language used, proper attire should be worn. So we'll let the teachers make sure before the kids upload it. It would be helpful if teachers preview them before it was uploaded.
Linda, great question. Linda asked the question, how will parents sign for consent? The students in the past have had to bring the media release form. And we will still have them doing a media and press release form. We also may have them just simply initial, like doing a digital initials as part of that section 5 there to indicate that they have read it over with the student and they understand the the rules and policies and what the fair looks like this year. We have not fully ironed out what section 5 looks like in its entirety, but it will be a digital kind of consent, if that makes sense. Checking a box saying, I agree to the above or whatever. Does that answer your question, Linda?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So moving on to step 3 in the registration. I've already gone through section 4. I think I've put enough emphasis on kind of what the registration process looks like. The next part is our media upload. And this is a bit of a bear. After students register, we will be sending them personalized emails, okay? In those emails, just like the letters that used to be sent out, and last year we sent out emails, they'll be personalized. They'll have the information that the students have submitted in the registration process that speak to the category, the project title, team, basically a synopsis. We send that back out to the students along with a project number. Once the students have the project number, in that same email, there will be the link that you see above, and that takes them into the media upload portion of the registration. And this is during that 1 week window during March, where students are going to be uploading all their media. Okay, well, I'll take you in here at another time. But basically, what this looks like is it's a Google form. To be perfectly honest, it's a Google form on steroids. Students do not need to have a Google account. They do not need access to Gmail. They don't need anything. It's a Google form that's open on the web, and it allows for media uploads. So this list of bulleted points here is not complete. There may be some things that I've left off of here. But this is where students are going to upload their abstract on the official abstract form as a PDF, their final research paper as a PDF, the project presentation, which is that 12-page or up to 12-page. I don't know how to describe it because I don't think any of us really has a good handle on what it really should look like. I know that ISEF has provided guidance, but I don't think we all fully know how to coach our students on this yet.
The only thing I could add to it, it's basically going to be everything that they normally have on a poster, they try to put into a PDF version. So there could be graphs, there could be various things, and the 1 minute demonstration video is only optional if some part of their research really needs a little video demo, then they could also include that.
Right. So the project presentation, I guess the way I might start to explain it to my students is that if you think about taking your poster and breaking your poster up into 12 slides, that might be the best way to start getting your students to think about what this project presentation is. So the students will upload this document. This is not the video, that's something different. There's also a quad chart that students can upload. There are templates that ISEF is working on generating and giving some exemplars. We'll stay tuned to figure out what those really look like. And then there is the project presentation video. We need a better name for this because I think students are going to get confused between the project presentation and the project presentation video. But essentially the project presentation video, as ISEF is referring to it, that's what the term that they're using right now, is up to a 2-minute video where students are, and as Fran likes to say, giving their elevator pitch on their study. This is going to be available to all of the judges to view. Some judges may view it before they go in and interview a student. Some judges may not. You know how judges all take different approaches. Some like to come up and just say, give me that 2-minute pitch right now. Some of the judges might go in and look at these things beforehand. The reason why this part of the registration is such a challenge is because if we have 150 to 170 participants, which is in line with the number of participants that we've had in previous years, and each of those students is uploading a 2-minute video, depending on how students record them, we're talking about maybe a few terabytes of storage, and our website cannot handle this. That's why we're going to the power of Google. So that's why we've moved away from the website.
There is a maximum amount of, I think, megabyte that they have for each of for that 2-minute video too, because even ISIF has a,
Yep.
we'll have that also on the website.
Right. So right now I'm saying 200 megabytes maximum. Last year at Saratoga, we did a virtual symposium at the end of the year. And so we went back, Fran and I went back through and looked at a number of our student videos, and they were up to 5 minutes long. And we had students that did 5-minute videos that were less than 70 megabytes. So depending on how you set your recordings, understand that they don't need to be shot in 4K high def, like super high resolution. It's about getting the content so that judges can see it. And if students really maximize the quality, I'm afraid that, you know, there might be lags and there might be issues for students to be able to upload their documents. Okay, so I'm recommending a 200 megabyte maximum, but I think that we as a group on a mailing listserv here could talk about kind of maybe suggested settings in different environments that you might use to record these things. Fran and our students do recordings right in PowerPoint. PowerPoint has some great utilities. I know that not every school has Microsoft Office. I think that we should start a conversation at some point after this meeting through email about giving general guidance and suggestions to one another about how to generate those videos so that students aren't trying to create this video and then have to compress it to get it down to a size that is manageable for uploading onto the web.
And
Joan?
Peter, there is a section called Project Video Instructions, except for the 200 megabytes to compress it, some suggestions on how to best do it, like shoot landscape and so forth.
Mhm.
So there are at least some suggestions as a starter, but obviously space is going to be important too. They stick within the space we asked them to stay in. And is there going to be, are we going to cut them that if it goes over a certain amount of megabytes, they can't upload it?
I don't plan to. I mean, I'm saying 200 megabytes maximum. I'm probably going to have to put a maximum of like 300 or 400 on there. Again, my intention in setting that maximum is not to draw a hard line in the sand. My goal is to make sure that the file that they're uploading, they are able to successfully upload, and that the judges will be able to successfully download such a large file without the connection timing out. You know, my concern is students who do this upload maybe from a less stable internet connection. If they're at home in maybe a more rural place, I want to make sure that they're afforded the same opportunities as somebody who's doing it from school with high-speed broadband access. Okay, so understand that I think there's more importance on getting that video uploaded than there is on it being in the highest definition resolution possible. Okay, so it's something that students should play with. Teachers should start to build some awareness for the students as they're helping them prepare. Think about the program that you're going to suggest to your students or work with your students to use. There will also be a spot for uploading evidence of the lab notebook. We've always required that students bring the lab notebook, so there will be a file upload where students can take photos with their phone or PDFs, scan using their phone or a scanner, upload a few exemplar pages from the lab notebook and upload them. And then there's,
but the caveat is avoid anything that they plan to have patented. Don't
right.
do that.
Right. Demonstration video, that is, ISIF has allowed for a video of up to 1 minute, as Joan said, for anything that a student would need to show during a presentation. Think of the demonstrations that students do at the fair when it's in person. You're limited to 1 minute maximum for that. There will also be a digital signature where students can use the keypad, or if they have a touchscreen device, they will sign. And when they're signing, they're saying that basically this is my own original work. And again, acknowledging that they are granting permission to post it to our website and our Vimeo or YouTube page, because those videos that are uploaded, the project presentation videos, the 2-minute videos, we will be taking those from this upload and putting them onto our website to create a virtual gallery for parents, for the students themselves to see their own work published on our website. And then once again, we are asking for photos of each of the students for our website to give recognition to the students. We don't want just a name up there. We like to put a face with the name. So we ask that students provide us with a photo for the website for awards and things like that. Okay. And I think that covers everything in the student registration process. And I apologize. I know that's a lot of information. I think, Joan, I'm not sure where you wanted to go now, but if there are any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them from the sort of technical side of things, or somebody else can answer them.
Linda has something. Oh, for page 12 of, you're looking at a different one. Linda, you should look at the recent one I sent, which is just for the virtual one. It's condensed into 9 pages. Or are you talking about page 12 of our brochure? I'm not sure what you're looking at.
I'm talking about, how we've got to have the quad and they've got to have the video, but they also have the maximum of 12-page.
Okay, so this is a newer version. I included in the last email. I took the one that ISEF sent to me and that I originally sent, and since I made it more specific to our regional fair. So the last page I have has to deal with that, but the quad chart instructions, which is now on page 7 of ours, they're going to send some examples. I think it's just a visual way of summarizing the project. So if a judge wants to take a quick look at what a project's about, that's the purpose of the quad chart.
No, that's not my question. There's a very heavy emphasis on using black and white on all of those documents, but sometimes students' graphs need to be in color in order to be able to be understood. Is that fine?
Oh yeah, that's fine. That says you can use color when needed for emphasis.
Okay, well,
don't want to have.
It's hard double checking.
Yeah, it's hard to reprint that's like green and blue, but just for graphs, certainly for those type of pictures, yes, all of that would obviously have to be in color.
Okay. Yeah, I think, Linda, where they might be going with that is in the past, I think this might be a hangover from in the past when we would submit paper, kids would submit black and white and the judges couldn't tell the difference in the colors because it would be shaded in a black and white copy. So I think that the fact that it's digital, it's fine to use color.
Yeah, absolutely. But not in like the report. They don't make different colors for that. That's.
Oh yeah, you don't want foo-foo.
Right. Yeah, no, it's not what
I did have a kid ask me if she could use glitter for JSHS, and I kind of told her no.
I think now it's just time for if anybody has any questions, because I think we pretty much have covered what was on the agenda, and all of you have that virtual Greater Capital Region Science and Engineering 2021 project materials guidelines, which I took the ISEF ones and I just made it more specific to our science fair, and hopefully we will have some examples of those quad charts. And the one for mathematics, I don't know if anybody needs it, but if you need mathematics, supposedly they're still producing that. So that's still there. So as soon as that information is available, I will certainly send it to everybody. So I thank all of you for coming. If there aren't any other questions, we can, I think I could stop the recording in a second here. And the recording of this, we're going to put on our website. So I saved it to cloud. So I'm going to give Peter access to my cloud account to get it. I guess that'd be the best way, or you show me how to stick it on our website, but we'll talk about that later. The rest of you don't have to worry about that. Okay.
If anybody does have any questions, I'm happy to stick around for a few minutes and answer them.
Catherine, you have a question?
Yeah, sorry. I guess I'm just, the 12-page project presentation, what would the difference be between that and like presenting at JSHS? Like, would it be possible for students to make it in there and then just do this presentation as a PDF?
No.
No.
This 12-page is in lieu of the poster. Or this is
And it's not the paper, Catherine.
No, the research paper is uploaded separately. They still can upload their research paper and their abstract. Those will all be separate documents. So the abstract is still required, the research paper, a sample of their lab notebook, that also will all be uploaded. These are just all the forms. And this is basically the poster it changed into a PDF so that the judges can read it more easily. And last year, kids took pictures of their posters, but some of it was hard to read for some of the judges.
So, Catherine, to answer your question, what I suggest is the kids are going to actually be uploading kind of the same information twice. So take the paper and then break it into the sections that are required. So you have to do it by page for the ISEF fair. So you want to upload that particular information when it comes to the presentation.
Right, but there will be, because Peter will have a place to upload your research paper, right, Peter, and a place to upload the abstract, all the type of stuff that we've had before. It's just that it's all going to be done electronically this year.
I guess my question is more about like how much information, how should the information stand by itself, you know, like, because it says to limit the amount of text and like paragraphs and things like that. So are students using it as like a visual aid, like they use their poster with the judges during the judging interview, they would be referring to that like they would have referred to their poster, or would it have to stand more on its own, I guess is my question.
Both.
The second, go with the second one. You want it to stand on its own. And really any poster should be, when anybody looks at a poster, it should be able to be understood without the kid explaining it. So I would definitely cut out the BS words, but include all pertinent information.
Right. And the judges also said they really would appreciate the video. So the video should be concise and just the important stuff they want to talk about.
I think it's also worth noting that judges will have the opportunity to go back and watch if they so chose. They'd be able to go back and watch the project presentation videos that the students have uploaded. That's one of the things that the judges have asked for and they appreciate is when they are deliberating and trying to decide between two projects, they will have access to everybody in the cellular biology category. They're going to get, if they're judging that category, they will have access to all of the documents that those students have uploaded. So they can go back and look at it again. So I would say, you know, try and include as many details as possible without being overly wordy. I mean,
yeah, and in addition to that, I think it's important that you realize that we are opening up this information to the judges probably close to a week before judging. So once they upload and it's in there, whatever date, Peter, what did we say? I don't remember.
It's Thursday, March 12th at Friday, March 12th at noon.
Some whatever day is at noon. So the fair is the following weekend. That week, the judges will be able to go in and start looking at the kids' materials. That's a big, big difference from last year.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll close it so the students can no longer make any changes. So once that date comes, that's it for any changes. And I wanted to add too, that one of the things we're going to do that's different this year, we haven't planned it out exactly. We like to have an awards ceremony, but we don't see it happening on Saturday. So on Sunday, we're going to do an awards ceremony. We'll tell you the time when we decide on a time. And this way the kids actually are going to have a live awards ceremony with their names announced at that particular time, so they know who won and so forth, instead of like emails that are sent out to everybody.
Yeah, I think that point also reminds me of something that we haven't really talked a whole lot about, and that's the format for the actual interviews for the students. The plan is this year we will be doing that in Zoom. We will be using Zoom accounts. Students do not need to have Zoom accounts. Students will have to come into the Zoom meetings for which they are sent links at their specified times. We will have a moderator in the general Zoom room who will move the student into their judging room, which will be we'll have a series of breakout rooms. And, we're going to have a moderator that says, oh, we move this student into breakout room 3 at 2:15, and the student will go into that room, and the judges will be in there. Did I provide enough detail on kind of what we expect it to look like? We're still building that, but it's a platform that I think we as a collective group on the board are much more comfortable with than the Skype calls. I'll tell you, creating 700 individual Skype calls or whatever Dan and Matt had to do last year was a huge undertaking, because each of the individuals who started one of those Skype calls had to have a Skype account, and getting all those URLs was a huge headache. So this year we'll have moderators in the general call who move the students into individual breakout rooms where the judging will occur.
Right. And for the award ceremony, Peter's going to have the account where we can have up to 500 people attended. So we won't have any problem allowing as many people who want to watch it as possible. And when the kids are interviewed, obviously they should bring their materials, like their PDFs, whatever they need in front of them to remind them about this or that, just like they're in front of their poster. Instead, they'll have their PDF to look at.
So Catherine asked the question of whether or not students will be able to share their screens during the presentation. And I know from a technical standpoint, students would have the ability to. I don't know that we've clearly defined whether or not they will be allowed to. Understand that students, my take on it, and this is not coming from any place of authority, I will advise my students, until we get clarification on that, to be prepared to speak to the documents that they uploaded, because the judges are going to have access to that. Senior division, cellular biology, project 4, the judges will have a hyperlink that takes them right into that student's folder, and the students can talk through the documents that are there.
Are they
We
going to?
still need to iron that out, but I think it probably will work. We'll test out some of the rooms, and probably who is ever hosting it, Dan and Matt will be hosting those rooms. They'll just make sure that the person who wants to share something, all the participants, right now, all of you actually could share something on your computer if you wanted to, because I gave permission for everybody to share. So I'm pretty sure it's all doable.
I know that from a technical standpoint, it is doable. I just don't know that there are clearly defined rules for ISIF as to whether or not students are able to screen share. I haven't seen that in any of the literature, but then again, I wasn't thinking to look for an answer to that. So I think that we need to come back.
I'm going to say that I think it should not be allowed, because we've had an issue with kids changing their presentation. I'll remember, Joan, the electronic board.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't want anybody changing their presentation throughout the day based on judges' feedback.
Right. So basically,
I agree with that.
They could hold up some things.
Well, no, they can just, get up and talk, or I suppose whoever is moderating that room needs to be really sharp and aware. I think it's opening up too many doors. Kids are way too tech savvy these days.
We could ask the judges to say, could you talk about this? Or if the kid says, I'd like to show something, the judge has it and says, okay, hold on, here's the page, tell me what you want. So the judge and the moderator could do that, like we do for JSHS.
Yeah, I think that the judge, somebody within the judges group could share out. Could you pull up my post, my quad chart? The judge shares their screen and shares the quad chart.
Yes.
And the student could talk about it. I think that Gina, you make a really good point, and I think that that's fair.
So the judges
will work out with our judges.
The judges will have the 12-page, able to look at it page by page. They could share the page.
The judge can share the page that they have a question on. But I think also, Joan, isn't the point of the quad chart that is to basically replace the poster? And so I would say that the kid Or maybe the moderator should just share the quad chart when the kid is presenting.
Well, the quad chart is just a summary of.
That's my point. Yeah.
Right. So
And
it
you
might
could
be a handy.
talk through the quad chart. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or, and so thank you everybody for brainstorming about this. Maybe we should just leave it up to the moderator to share their screen. If a judge says, I have a question on this page, only the moderator will share that material.
Right. So this is something we can, oops, we just lost Peter.
Nope, you didn't lose me. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what the judges have.
Oh, okay.
Based on the way I've set this up. So this is a copy of essentially the spreadsheet that's generated as students submit their documentation. So Fran and I, in setting this up, we were playing with this, and Fran submitted a response as if she was a student. What you'll notice is that Fran submitted all of this, and then, oop, I went too far. Do you see the columns?
Mhm.
Each of these is a link that takes the judges right to the URL, okay? Additionally, it organizes all of each submission that comes through the website goes into an appropriate folder. So as students submit things, it generates folders in my Google Drive account. So I'm going to go into senior division. There are all of the folders for each of the 21 categories. So if I go into, Fran, which was it, biochemistry? Yeah, if I go into, nope, not in biochemistry. I don't remember where I put it. But I can tell you, yeah, I guess it was in biochemistry. What it's going to do is it's going to put it into a folder in here. So all of the biochemistry projects will have their own folder. So as the judges are doing the judging, they can open up that folder and they will have access to all of the files the student has provided them with.
The folder will have a project number on it, obviously.
Yeah. That's how they're organized. These folders are all empty at the moment because nobody has uploaded anything. But I've set up the program so that it automatically will put them in the appropriate folders for the judges. And the judges who are doing behavioral will get access to all of the behavioral projects in one folder.
But
They'll probably have all that available during the interview.
They're going to have that available March 12th at noon. At noon on March 12th, that's going to become available to the judges so that they have a week to start looking through the projects and the materials that have been uploaded.
my concern about not being able to share something on the screen is that the judges are going to be Zooming. And I don't know about you, but looking at the Zoom while pulling up and looking at other things on the same screen is sometimes quite difficult. So it's just something to consider when you're thinking about how the judges are actually going to be using the space.
I think that's something that should be addressed to the judges, actually. We should bring that up. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have multiple screens. I know Peter does, we work with. So I think that is something, though, we should tell the judges that the students may present to have a second screen. That's a good point.
Yeah. So we'll work out some of those glitches with the judges and with the help of Peter on that, so that if they need a screen for the presentation materials and just a screen to talk to the student, that's only the other student. There might be some other students in the room at the same time, but they won't have a chance. They won't be interviewed at that time. So I think that can be worked out. It should not be a problem. But we want to avoid printing out everything because we're talking about, thousands of pages of papers.
But Linda, another thing, remember when you screen share, you're still going to be able to see the student. And when they share anything, that's what takes up most of the screen anyway.
Right. Yeah, so I don't think it's going to be a big issue because you were all able to see what Peter shared, and still I could see some of you. There won't be as many people in that room. There's only one they're interested in, is the person being interviewed. and the interviewers. There'll probably be 2 or 3 judges. Any other questions from anybody?
Joan, I put that in the chat. I don't know if you're saving the chat, or Donna, since you're
saving.
taking notes.
This entire thing has been recorded.
It's recorded.
Oh, it is. That's right. I forgot. Okay. So I put it in chat anyway.
Okay, no, it's all recorded. So
That's
it's
right.
on,
Okay.
it's on my cloud account, which I will send to Peter to put on the website for teachers who need to access it again. So, and of course, if any of you have any questions and people who did not make the meeting too, we're all here to answer any questions. So we have a while here to figure this out. I'm sure ISIF is still figuring out a lot of glitches. That's why we haven't received everything from them at this point. And so we'll probably get some clarification of some of the changes for just this year, and hopefully 2022 we'll be back to regular formats, except the uploading. I don't think there's going to be any more hard copies of anything.
Wake up, Bartuli. Wake up, Bartuli. Wake up, Bartuli. Sorry.
Except the poster and a few things that you need to bring to the day of the science fair. So.